Some filmmakers tell stories, others disturb memory. In the history of Algerian cinema, one name embodies creation, censorship, and fierce cultural resistance all at once. That name is Abderrahmane Bouguermouh. He wasn't just a filmmaker. He was a committed intellectual, a voice for the Amazigh people, driven by a powerful desire to film Algeria as it was truly lived, not as the official narrative wanted it to be shown. His journey was one of constant struggle, a battle against forces that sought to silence him. This is the story of a director whose films were confiscated, whose reels were destroyed, but whose vision, against all odds, survived to inspire a new generation. It's a story of art against authority and memory against forgetting. Abderrahmane Bouguermouh was born on February 25, 1936, in Ouzelagan, a village nestled in the heart of Kabylia. He grew up in a family where knowledge and cultural transmission were sacred. His father, a schoolteacher, instilled in him a love for learning and a deep connection to his roots. This foundation would become the bedrock of his future work. At the tender age of 9, he was sent to continue his studies in the city of Sétif. It was there that he witnessed the tragic events of May 8, 1945. The brutal massacres carried out by French colonial forces against Algerian civilians left an indelible mark on his young mind. This was a founding shock, a moment of brutal awakening that would shape his political consciousness and ignite the fire of rebellion in his artistic soul. The injustice he saw that day would fuel his lifelong commitment to telling the stories of the oppressed and the silenced. He understood early on that history wasn't just written by the victors, it was also lived by the victims, and their stories needed to be told. His path took a decisive turn in 1957 when he met the great writer and intellectual Mouloud Mammeri. This meeting was more than just a chance encounter. It was the beginning of a profound friendship and an intellectual partnership that would last a lifetime. They shared a common vision: to preserve and promote Amazigh culture in a country that was increasingly trying to homogenize its identity. This shared passion for their heritage would become a central theme in Bouguermouh's cinematic work. In 1960, his ambition led him to Paris, where he enrolled in the prestigious IDHEC, one of the world's leading film schools. There, he honed his craft, learning the art of directing alongside some of the future giants of cinema. He also worked for the French television broadcaster RTF, gaining practical experience and a deeper understanding of the power of the moving image. For Bouguermouh, cinema was never just entertainment. It was a tool, a weapon even, for reflection, for asserting identity, and for reclaiming a memory that was under threat. He was preparing to return home, armed not with a gun, but with a camera. In 1963, with Algeria finally independent, a hopeful Bouguermouh returned to his homeland. He was full of energy and ideas, ready to contribute to building a new national culture. He became one of the co-founders of the National Algerian Cinema Center, believing he could help shape a cinema that reflected the nation's true diversity. But his dream was short-lived. His independent spirit and his unwavering political views quickly clashed with the new state's rigid ideology. In 1964, just a year after helping to create it, he was unceremoniously excluded from the very institution he had co-founded. The official reason was his political views, a vague charge that really meant he refused to conform to the state-sanctioned narrative of a purely Arab Islamic Algeria. This brutal rejection marked the beginning of a long and painful conflict with the official institutions. He was now an outsider in his own country, a filmmaker without a system to support him, forced to fight for every frame of film. The most dramatic confrontation came in 1965. Bouguermouh decided to adapt a text by the celebrated writer Malek Haddad. He titled the film Comme une âme, or Like a Soul. But he made a bold, defiant choice. He shot the entire film in the Berber language, Amazigh. This was a revolutionary act. The official response was swift and merciless. The film was flatly rejected by the authorities for one simple reason: it was not filmed in Arabic. It was a historic decision, a clear signal that Amazigh culture had no place in the new Algeria's official cinematic landscape. Undeterred, Bouguermouh took his project to Paris, hoping to salvage his work by refilming it in French. But the Algerian state's reach was long. In a shocking act of cultural vandalism, the film reels, the only existing copy of his work, were confiscated and destroyed. An entire film, a major piece of Amazigh cinematic art, was erased from existence. It was a brutal act of censorship, designed not just to silence one filmmaker, but to send a chilling message to all who dared to challenge the official line. Despite this devastating blow, Bouguermouh refused to be broken. Between 1965 and 1968, he channeled his creative energy into directing several documentaries. These projects allowed him to continue his work of cultural preservation, often operating on the fringes, away from the state's watchful eye. During this period, he collaborated closely with a circle of prominent Amazigh intellectuals who, like him, were fighting to keep their culture alive. He worked with his old friend Mouloud Mammeri, the singer and writer Taous Amrouche, the activist Mohand Arab Bessaoud, and the scholar Mohand Said Hanouz. Together, they formed a kind of cultural resistance, using art and scholarship to document and celebrate the heritage the state wanted to erase. His talent was undeniable, and even his adversaries in the official film industry couldn't completely ignore it. In 1973, he was hired as an assistant director to Mohamed Lakhdar Hamina on the epic film Chronicle of the Years of Fire. The film would go on to win the prestigious Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, a moment of international recognition for Algerian cinema. But for Bouguermouh, it was a bittersweet experience working within the very system that had tried to crush him. For decades, Bouguermouh remained in a creative wilderness, a celebrated talent condemned to silence. But he never gave up on his ultimate dream: to adapt Mouloud Mammeri's seminal novel La Colline Oubliée, or The Forgotten Hill. It took him nearly 30 years to finally bring this project to the screen. In 1996, after a long and arduous struggle for funding and permission, he directed The Forgotten Hill. Shot in Kabylia and in the Tamazight language, the film was a triumph. It tells the story of a traditional village grappling with the pressures of colonialism and modernity, a powerful metaphor for the Kabyle experience. The film became an instant landmark of Amazigh Algerian cinema, a symbol of cultural resilience and artistic integrity. With The Forgotten Hill, Abderrahmane Bouguermouh was finally recognized, both at home and abroad, as the filmmaker of Kabyle memory, the man who gave a voice and a face to a people long rendered invisible. His perseverance had paid off. Abderrahmane Bouguermouh passed away on February 3, 2013 in Algiers, leaving behind a legacy that is as powerful as it is poignant. His filmography is not extensive. It is marked by long periods of forced silence, by confiscated projects and broken dreams. But what remains is a testament to a life of immense courage. His films are filled with the unspoken, the struggles, and the profound truth of his people. He was a filmmaker who never sought the easy path. He never compromised his vision for comfort or acceptance. His cinema was a quest for justice, a demand for recognition, and a celebration of an identity that others tried to extinguish. And that is precisely why his legacy remains so essential today. Abderrahmane Bouguermouh taught us that even when they try to destroy the images, the memory survives. Thanks for watching. If you found this story inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of extraordinary artists.